every day when I walk, I feel so grateful. Like every day, like I take a bath, I feel so grateful because I didn't get a bath every
Mhm.
day in orphanage.
Yeah.
We only got a
Hmm.
bath once a month. No, once a
Yeah.
year.
Hmm.
Once a year.
Oh my gosh.
Because we had to
Yeah.
go to a public bath and not
Yeah.
everybody could walk. So we had to push them in the wheelchairs and there's not enough
Mhm.
step to push everybody. So we walked
Yeah.
like a mile or two to get to the public
Oh my
bath.
gosh.
And so if we
Wow.
were lucky, we got two baths a year, if we're
Oh my
lucky.
gosh. Wow.
And so every single day, so you could see how my life is right now. I feel very
Okay.
rich, not only
Huh?
financially, but I feel rich with all the things that I get to do. Like I
Yeah.
take a bath or shower every day. It's like I feel rich,
Mm.
you
Hmm.
know, and I get
Yeah.
to change to a different shoes more than just one pair of shoes. I feel
Hmm.
rich,
Yeah.
so we have to really focus on like what we have.
So welcome, Sun Yong Kim-Manzolini. I am so honored to have you on the podcast today. I know there's gonna be so much. We've just been chatting, and I feel like this is gonna be such a great episode. So many things that are going to come forth in this. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So one thing I just want to start with, because I read a little bit of your story and I would love for you to share a little bit more of that, of like overcoming adversity, coming through
Mhm.
on the other end of some challenges, and how something that we can all relate to is like feeling this sense of scarcity, like not having enough, this fear-based way of living where we're like wondering like how am I going to get through the next day and how can I provide for myself? Can you share a little bit of your story and where did you come from and where are you today?
Sure, boy.
Big
That
question, right?
is, yeah, it is a big question. And I know that we don't have like 10 years to talk about it, but I'll
Yeah.
sum it up. But
Hmm.
basically, I grew up in South Korea.
Hmm.
And just out of the blue, I just remember my mother just went into a room to have a baby.
Hmm.
And I remember just sitting by the door that where she went in because we didn't, we were too poor to go to the hospital. And so I remember just sitting, waiting, 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 waiting for my mother to come out. And she never came out. And only thing that I know was like I heard the baby crying. So as a little girl, I just like, okay, I don't know what happened to my mom, but we have a new baby. So that's how my life kind of came to realizations. And right after that, my dad basically said, told my sister and said, okay, you take care of Sun Young. And then he never told me, I don't think he even told my sister, he just left us. He just basically left and didn't tell us where he was going or he'll be back or nothing like he just left. And so my sister and I, we basically became an instant orphan right at the moment. And so, I felt like, okay, my dad told my sister to take care of me, so I'm okay, as long as I am with somebody. So she and I, we ended up in an orphanage in Mokpo. I don't know, lived there for a couple of years. And I remember in that orphanage, there's two things that I realized. Sometimes we live a life and we see things, we hear things, and we are like, okay, this, and this, that. So when I went to that orphanage, I remember the orphanage workers would always talk about, like, oh, we got another baby today. And they would open the door and then they would hear the baby crying, but that's how they knew that they had another baby dropped off at the orphanage because they heard the baby crying. So they would open the front door and then the babies would be wrapped in a thin blanket middle of the winter. And I remember witnessing that as they were picking it up and I was just watching what's going on in the orphanage. And then something that I realized was, it's normal for my dad to leave us. It's like that's what happens to every family. So then I wasn't so mad at my dad. I was like, okay, it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I realized at orphanage was as the days go by and I would just look out the window and I saw other kids playing outside. And I thought to myself, I go, why can I be, why can I go outside and play like my friends are playing?
Hmm.
I didn't realize that I mean, nobody told me that I could not walk, but I could not walk. I didn't have a normal family saying, okay, do you know that you cannot walk? Do you know something's wrong with your lip? Do you know what I mean? Nobody ever talked to me. I was basically like ignored and abandoned, just like, you know. And so I didn't know anything that was wrong with me other than I was just getting around with my hip and my hands on my knees and getting around this way. That's all I knew.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I knew everybody was walking. And so when I resonated with my friends, like, I want to go play outside, but I couldn't. And I think one point, just a few years later, my sister just out of nowhere, she showed me a picture and she says, "This is the place where I'm gonna take you." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you have to go this place." And I said, "Why?" And she says, "That's where they're gonna teach you how to walk." And I said, "Well, I don't want to walk."
Mhm.
You know, I don't, here I am. I wanted to walk to play outside with friends, but then when my sister says, "I'm going to take you to somewhere else," and I was like, "No, no, thanks. I don't want to walk." So
Yeah.
basically, she and I, we argue. Basically, she says, "Yes, you must go." And I said, "No, I don't want to go." She ended up taking me there.
Mhm.
And when I went to a second orphanage was in Daejeon in South Korea. And I was so shocked because I saw all these kids were handicapped. They were like walking with the crutches and walking with the limp and wheelchairs. And I thought, I have never seen so many kids like that in one time. You know,
Mhm.
you see one kid, here and there, but everybody, everywhere I turn around, different parts of the building, as soon as I went into the orphanage, was like shocking. And so my sister, I think she talked to this orphanage worker for a long time, and I think I don't know for sure, but I think she was trying to, we got a tour of the place, and then
Mhm.
after that we went to the office, and she was talking to her for a long, long time, like I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours, and finally, and the whole time I was holding onto her hand. We were holding hands together because she's the only person I have a hope for. And anyway, so finally she says, I have to go to the bathroom. And I said, "Okay, no problem. I'll go with you."
Mhm.
And she says, "Well, you can't." And I go, "Why not?" Because every time I had to go to the bathroom, she had to come with me because she had to take care of me
Mhm.
to be able to, go to the
Yeah.
bathroom. And so we all gone to the bathroom together. So it wasn't
Mhm.
anything out of the ordinary. But all of a sudden, this time she says, like, "I can't come." And I go, "What do you mean I can't come?" And
Mhm.
she says, "Well, I'll be right back. I'll be right back." And so just fighting back and forth, like, not wanting to let go of her hands and everything. And um, she finally, I finally let her go.
Mhm.
I finally said, "Okay, this is not going to go." And what can I say? She has to go to the bathroom. And
Mhm.
she pinky promised me that she's going to come back.
Mhm.
So I thought she was going to the bathroom. And then um, I waited all day. Dinner
Mhm.
time came.
Oh.
She never came back. So that day, I realized that I can't trust anybody.
Mm. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, no, don't ever apologize for crying. I'm so sorry. That's oh, my heart goes out to you.
It's
Like
past.
it's
But when you talk about it, it's like you're relieving the. Anyway,
absolutely. Hmm.
so she never came back. So that's the day I said, "Okay, I can't trust
Mm.
anybody. And I hate the world."
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell my mom, I never saw her, assuming that I thought she was dead, obviously.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to crawl back into her dead body in the womb, or wanted to tell her what happened. I said, "Mom, after you
Mm.
passed away, this is what happened."
Wow.
I wanted to tell her that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I lived with that kind of feeling, hating the world, not trusting everybody. So when I lived in that second orphanage, I never smiled. I never talked to anybody because I
Yeah.
just thought, world has nothing to offer,
Mm.
you know, nothing but cold,
Hmm.
coldness.
Yeah.
So one of the orphanage staff showed me how to stand up, hanging onto the rail. They have a rails all over, all throughout the hallways in that because it was like a handicap rehab center.
Hmm.
And so the kids had a families, they dropped them off there so
Hmm.
they could, stay there because
Hmm.
their families couldn't take care of them 24/7. A lot of them, some of them, they can even feed themselves, so there's
Yeah.
all kinds of disabilities. So, but everybody got around, but here's me. I couldn't even get up to get on the wheelchair either. I just like scoot myself on the floor that way.
Mhm.
And so every day when she showed me like what to do, she can spend time with me one on one, not like America where
Mhm.
we have a physical therapist or occupational
Mhm.
therapist like that. And this
Mhm.
is an old, and I'm pretty old now, right? And
Mhm.
uh, and so she showed me what to do a couple of times, like just hang onto the rail and just stand up. That's what you're gonna do. And then
Mhm.
she left me, and I did that every single day. I don't know how many days, every single day. I had nothing better to do.
Mhm.
My life in that orphanage was just existing from meal to meal. Like they gave us a breakfast, and only thing that I could look forward to was like, when is lunch?
Mhm.
What is
Mhm.
for lunch?
Wow.
There's not too much of a choice.
Yeah.
And but I practiced what she showed me every day. It took me about 2 years to learn to walk. So when I was about, I would say about 6 or 7 years old, I remember. But like I said, learning to walk was like hanging on, sitting down, hanging up, getting up, sitting down, hanging up, and standing up. Once I got really good at that, then I had to take a step. So then,
Mhm.
then I would take a step with my right foot,
Mhm.
and then left foot like that. And then
Yeah.
pretty soon, that's what I could do. So one day, everybody that works there, because they knew that I've been practicing and things like that, and they said,
Mhm.
okay, now this is the time that you're gonna take a step.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. So obviously I thought they were gonna be next to me because I'm so used to
Mhm.
hanging on to something, right? So I
Yeah.
thought there were gonna be something next to me, like a chair or someone, some
Mhm.
hands, nothing.
Mhm.
Everything was clear surround me, and they says take a walk. And I was so scared because
Mhm.
I don't know. I never stood up on
Yeah.
my own without
Mhm.
hanging on to anything. And so they says, take a seat. Everybody's watching me, because it was a big
Mhm.
moment for them too.
Mhm. Yeah.
And and they says, take a step. And I was like, no. I was like
Mhm.
shaky.
Yeah.
And finally they says, and I said, what's gonna happen? He said, the floor's gonna move when I take a step. And I go, no. And I go, are you
Mhm.
sure? So I had
Mhm.
all kinds of doubts. Like I didn't trust
Yeah.
anything. I didn't trust anybody, anything or nothing. So finally I took a step with my right foot. And I remember like nervous, and I took a right step, and I had a biggest smile on my face because I
Mhm.
thought floor didn't move and
Yeah.
I'm still standing here. So then they
Yeah.
says take another step. So then I took it. That was the moment I started taking steps to walk.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So that's why I'm still walking. Well,
Yeah.
and then I lived there, and a lot of physical, mental abuse going on in there. Like if someone did something and nobody fessed up, then we all got punished with the
Mhm.
sticks with our hands. We had to,
Mhm.
and then if we didn't do our homework or if we didn't get the homework right, we got hit all the time, and just all
Mhm.
kinds of things that went through. To go forward, when I was 14 years old, I was adopted by an American family.
Mhm.
But we had a Peace Corps worker, Miss Jan. She was there for like a year or two. And after her Peace Corps work was done in our orphanage, she says, when I go back to America, I promise you guys, try to find you guys a family because you guys really
Mhm.
want to have a family. It's like, sure. So we were having hope to have that happen. Never happened. And
Mhm.
she took one of a boy adopted her, and she took her with her and everything. So at age 14, I got a letter from a family saying that they want to adopt a special needs child, and they want me. And I'm
Mhm.
like, what? I go, me? It's like,
Mhm.
so after they wrote me a letter and everything, and I didn't believe. And then they said, yeah, we really want you. We want to adopt you. We really. And so they told me like they have six of their own kids by,
Mhm.
birth. And then they
Mhm.
adopted her one child. So they had seven kids, and then, the
Mhm.
mom and dad. And then they says, here's the pictures. This is going to be your siblings. And then here we are,
Mhm.
and you're going to have a family. I couldn't believe it. They wrote to me
Mhm.
in English, and I had to have translations and everything.
Mhm.
And so I couldn't believe it. Anyway, I was excited, but I was very scared because I thought, I don't want to have another rejections. I don't
Mhm.
want to have another, abandonment issues.
Mhm.
So I really didn't believe it. I really didn't believe it for a long time. And they wrote to me, at least every 2 weeks or something, I would get a translation. Anyways, at age 14, as soon as I turned 14 years old, in May 14th, and then May 27th, I came to America.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when I came to America, it was just, I was really crying. I was sad because I was leaving my friends. I don't
Mhm.
have a family in Korea, but my friends were, orphanage was my home,
Mhm.
growing up there for like 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and then I came to America and they showered me with everything that I ever needed, a
Mm.
purse, a bra, underwear, a dress, shoes, and just more than one piece of clothing. And I
Mhm.
was shocked.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my gosh, like this is more than I ever asked for. Like I don't need anything else the rest of my life. I was just so shocked
Yeah.
because not only they taught me, but they showered me with like, but to them it was like basic necessary things. But to me it was like the gift that I have never ever had.
Yeah.
So I was just so grateful. And I was just like so, so excited. I was on cloud 99. I mean, I just can't believe it. Like
Mhm.
anybody would do this to me,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
And so life was really exciting. But the same token, I was very scared because I knew that I had a lot to learn. I didn't know any
Mm.
English at all. I didn't
Yeah.
even know my alphabet at age 14, just
Mhm.
coming,
Yeah.
from Korea. So my
Mhm.
mother, she sacrificed a lot of her time during that summer because summer just began in America. And
Mhm.
I just got done with the junior high in orphanage. And so she taught me basic, like all my alphabets, my basic, hi, how are you? My name is, those things so that I could go to school in junior high when the
Mhm.
fall starts. So she sacrificed a lot of her time and I learned that. But during that time, every time people would smile at me or look at me and talking to them, and I didn't understand English, right? So they would just
Mhm.
say and then laugh or smile. I would thought they were making fun of me because in
Mhm.
orphanage I was bullied by other kids. They were making fun of me the way I looked. And so when I came to America, when I saw everybody smiling at me, I thought they were just making fun of me. And I
Mhm.
thought, this is not going to work. I say, no matter where I go, people are making fun of me. I
Mhm.
thought,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, to go forward fast. And so then, my family says, okay. And I thought to myself, oh, this is like a golden opportunity. I have a,
Mhm.
a, a second chance in my life. And
Mhm.
so they taught me all the basic needs and they says, just, study hard and, get a good paying job and then you'll be fine. Just pay your
Mhm.
bills and you're okay.
Mhm.
So I did everything what they told me to do because I don't know. They know they raised 7 kids, right? Right. And so I did exactly. And besides, like I was so afraid that if I didn't do my part, if I didn't learn enough English to be able to have a conversations with them or learn to accept the family and learn to have a relationship with the family and to love the strangers that I have never met before because I just got done dislocating myself,
Mhm.
like not trusting anybody and hating the world and everything. And I have to learn all that. And it's
Yeah.
like, I just can't do this. It's overwhelming
Mhm. Yeah.
because I don't want to get sent back because I don't want to be a failure to them. I don't want them to be disappointed. So a lot of times we live a life thinking that we don't want to disappoint our parents or our, what
Mhm.
I mean, our kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we do those things, right? And so I studied really hard and everything. I would get up at 4 in the morning and I would take all the summer classes. I did everything extra
Mhm.
just to make
Yeah.
sure that, I meet my expectations and their expectations so I don't get sent back to Korea. But
Yeah.
that's not what they were thinking. But in my mind, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. They would just don't want me no matter what. Anyway, so I ended up, graduating with the 1 point away from high honors. I did graduate
Mhm.
with honors and then got
Mhm.
a scholarship, went to school, and then I decided to take a shortcut and became a medical assistant. I love that. I
Mhm.
didn't want to work at the hospital changing beds, you know,
Yeah.
medical assistant, you get to give shots and do all kinds of stuff, help with
Mhm.
surgeries in the office. So I love that kind of work. So I thought,
Mhm.
so I ended up landing in that job. It was my dream job. And I did it for 33 years. Like every single day, like I
Yeah.
would get up in the morning so excited,
Yeah.
like wanted to go to bed early, night before because I
Mhm.
was excited to go to work. It was like
Yeah.
my dream job.
Mhm.
And after doing it for 33 years, I have learned a lot of valuable lessons from my patients, because
Mhm.
you get to know your patients and they become your family and,
Mhm.
they tell me a lot of their stories and everything. It's a very, I loved it. Like I said, I loved
Yeah.
it. And I have learned so much lessons from my patients and my work that I decided to retire earlier than I ever expected.
Mhm.
Well, number one, biggest reason was that I wasn't making enough money. I was struggling living
Mhm.
paycheck to paycheck. And
Mhm.
I was struggling to pay bills because I was married for 14 years and I got divorced and
Mhm.
raising kids as a single mother. And here I am with a successful, career woman, loving my job. And
Mhm.
then, but I was struggling, trying to, keep things up to, provide for my kids and everything. And that became a priority because I thought, what happened to my family? I go, they didn't have enough money, so maybe they gave me away. If they had
Mhm.
enough money, maybe they would have kept me, and then they were able
Mhm.
to, access the services, pay for the
Mhm.
services to, help me to walk and all those. So many things went through my mind as
Yeah.
after I came to America and everything. And
Mhm.
besides, another thing that I wanted to tell you is like this family fixed me all up. They gave me a leg surgery, they gave me a lip surgery, they
Mhm.
just fixed me all up so I could look in the
Mhm.
mirror and I could smile, just I could
Mhm.
walk. I mean, just so many things. Like I just like unbelievable, it's just
Oh
like
gosh.
unbelievable. Anyway,
Mhm.
so a dream job and realizing, learning a lot of valuable lessons, and then, but the reason I learned the valuable lessons because I had an open mind. I wanted to learn. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh, that's just a story. That's what you're telling me.
Mhm.
If we don't have an open mind, we won't
Mhm.
learn anything.
Mhm.
We'll just hear it 1 year, let it go the other. Like you heard that before, right? But Ev even now, I have every single day, even with my own family, with my own kids and my husband, I always want to learn something, and I always have my hearts open, my ears open with a
Mhm.
passion because
Mhm.
it matters.
Mhm.
What they have to say is it matters.
Yeah.
And so we have to live our life that way. And so learning those valuable lessons, and I decided, I thought, okay, I got to make more money.
Mhm.
I thought it does not make sense. It does not match my dream job, and I was not getting my dream income
Mhm.
you know so
Yeah.
that's my turning point. Was like, okay, I got to do something. And besides, I don't want to retire when I become an age. I'm so old, so exhausted physically
Mhm.
and mentally. So when I'm forced to retire, I'll probably end up in the hospital, like I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of our patients do. They retire after working for 30, 40 years, becoming a CEO and the highest ladder in their career, and then they retire. One, they're exhausted mentally and physically. So
Mhm.
we saw them going to emergency rooms, coming to see the doctor. Instead of spending their time and money on a vacations after their
Mhm.
retirement, they would come back because they're so sick they couldn't even go on a vacations, or their
Mhm.
spouses. And I saw that, and then some people, like, they retired, they didn't have enough money, so they ended up going back to same job. Or a lot of
Mhm.
them, they start a new job and they start from the very bottom of the
Mhm.
ladder instead of. So I thought to myself, if I'm going to retire, I don't want to do that, so I might as well just work till I'm
Mhm.
exhausted to, really retire age, like 70 or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Mhm.
those are the things, that deciding factors. And I didn't really have any other skills other than medical assisting, and everybody was worried, like, what are you going to do when you retire? And I had to tell
Mhm.
my doctor, it's like, okay, I'm going to retire. It's like, when? I go, a year. And this was 2014. And he says, do
Mhm.
you have any money? And I said, no.
Yeah.
I only had a $10 in my, checking account. Like I said, I
Yeah.
was living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Mhm.
And my
Yeah.
doctor told me, he says, I cannot retire until I have at least $1 million or more saved up, because by the time we retire, we're like same age, 2 weeks apart. So he says,
Yeah.
by the time we retire, we have to have more than $1 million to be
Mhm.
able to keep up with the inflations, going up.
Mhm.
And I thought, and that really scared me, because not only I can't ever make $1 million working at this job, so that means I could never retire. So I did it just the opposite. I said, well, if I stay here, I know I'm going to stay broke. If I
Mhm.
stay here, I know that I won't be able to, you know.
Mhm.
And so I ended up retiring in 2015, exactly a year from
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah. Wow.
Retired. Yeah, and then I decided to do some real estate investments and financial, investments and things like that.
Mhm.
And I ended up going to a seminar with the properties, rental properties. And
Mhm.
then at there, they introduced option trading. And they said, the real estate, investors, you guys gonna make lots of money. And they're like, oh yeah, really? Well, I have a rental home and I'm not making any money. I'm losing money,
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
was single mom. And then when I got remarried, I decided to use a house that I was living with my kids as a rental. But
Mhm.
I didn't have any skills. I didn't have any proper strategies. I didn't have any mentor or coach. So
Mhm.
therefore, I was just doing it on my own, just by hearsay. Like people say, if you have a rental, you're gonna make money. So I just did
Mhm.
gone by that, and I was
Yeah.
losing money. And so I went to the seminar for the real estate, to trying to learn the skills so I could make money on the rentals that I was losing money on. And then that's when they introduced like, oh, you're gonna make so much money. So I was excited because I need to make money, not losing with the rental
Yeah.
properties. But they says, there's a ways that you could diversify it and make money is option trading. And I
Uh-huh.
said, what is that? I've never heard of it before. And so I looked into it, and then they says, I said, what does it entail? Well, you got to take a class. It's going to cost you this much, and then plus you got to use a computer. And I said, oh no, thanks. I hate
Mhm.
computers. I don't
Yeah.
want to learn my new technologies. At that time. And I
Uh-huh.
was just kind of like, no, 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 thanks. I went to opportunities, but then some of the things that people tell me, like what I have to do, like I said, no thanks. So we
Mhm.
we live a life like that,
Mhm.
like we're waiting for opportunities to come to us.
Mhm.
And sometimes we take ourselves to where there's an opportunity, and
Mhm.
then what we hear, we're like, oh, not as good as I thought it was. No thanks. And so I just kind of like, no, no thanks, I don't want it.
Mhm.
Then I decided, I thought, after I retire, my goal is to not to work for another company. My goal is to stay home. And so I thought, well, real estate investments, I was going to auctions and, trying to get some properties and things like that. That took me away from home. So I thought, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this option trading as a hobby,
Mhm.
not making money. I'll take it as a hobby because we all need to do something fun.
Mhm.
And I don't want to spend a lot of money because I could not touch any of my 401k pension plan because I
Mhm.
retired earlier than I ever expected. And so I
Mhm.
thought, I'm going to pick up this hobby and I don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but I did pay for educations. And then I studied it. So 2016, I studied with my virtual money. And
Mhm.
I was like seeing unbelievable results with the virtual money. And I'm like, I can't believe like I made 50,000 in 1 month or 2 weeks or three, and I thought I was making 35,000 my job for 33 years and I was happy with it. I was okay. But here I
Right.
am with the virtual money. I'm making this kind of money. So I thought, what
Mhm.
if I could do this for with the real money?
Huh?
What
Yeah.
if? And so,
Mhm.
but I didn't have any money. My husband was working and stuff. So I said, okay, why don't we just take some money out of our home equity loan? We got to
Mhm.
start somewhere. So we have to be resourceful.
Yeah.
Instead of getting new things, getting a new, you know what I mean? Like having
Mhm.
a brand new idea. It's like, okay, what do we have? What can we use as a
Mhm.
resource, right? So
Mhm.
we used the home equity loan, took the money out, and because the interest rate was pretty low versus
Mhm.
getting a 14% of regular signature loans or whatever.
Mhm.
And so we started with that. And so I practiced and studied and came up with a strategy called unique miracle system for option
Mhm.
trading, and it's just very very simple. And
Mhm.
then and I taught all my kids, and so they could do it, they do that too. and
Yeah.
then um, and then in 2017, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to get brave. I cannot be on the riding a bicycle with the training wheels forever, right?
Mhm.
So I just
Right.
have to be brave and take it, so that I put
Uh-huh.
money in there with the home equity loan, and I start trading. And my first year, I made like $178,000.
Wow.
Now
Oh my
my
gosh.
goal was to make about 60 to 90,000,
Oh my gosh.
and I thought that would be fantastic,
Yeah.
but I knew I could do that because I practiced with the virtual money. So I
Right.
set a goal like making 90,000, 100 at the most. And I had a step by step, like, okay, if I want to make 100,000 a year, how much
Mhm.
do I have to make a month? And then I
Yeah.
broke it down to how much do I have to make a week
Mhm.
and daily basis. So I broke it down
Yeah.
to very, very small things. So it's not overwhelming, like, oh, I got to make 100,000. And then if the
Right.
market goes crazy, I'll go crazy, right?
Yeah. Right.
But when you break down and you look at the numbers and you measure it,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't mind because I studied it for a whole year, but normally it doesn't take a whole year. I teach my clients all the time, it doesn't take them a whole year, like
Yeah.
I give them like 12-week course and things like that. But
Mhm.
for me, I studied it because it was my hobby,
Yeah.
and I really came up with it. So when I was able to break down and how much do I have to make a day? So my daily goal was to make X amount of money. And
Mhm.
I did that. So like if I was to make a $2,000 a day, and some days I would make a 10,000. So then
Mhm.
I would still try to make a 2,000 next day. And then market something happens, I have a cushion, like, okay, I made a
Mhm.
10,000 today. So I'm okay. I'm still within my goal, within my,
Mhm.
and so I was okay, but I still tried to make a 2,000, no matter how much I make, each day. Sometimes like I make 30,000 a day. And it's like
Yeah.
still, I would say I still want to make a 2,000 and then have that.
Mhm.
And I already met like monthly goal, making,
Mhm.
30,000 in a week. I already met
Yeah.
my goal, but I still, consistently trying to make that way. So when
Mhm.
I made over and above my goal, like 178,000, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Mhm.
this is like so cool.
Yeah.
And then just keep doing it. And then a couple years later, my husband, he retired in 2017. And when I
Mhm.
was doing that, and then we held out money that he retired was like 164,000 from his TSP working for government. And we
Mhm.
held it in our IRA account for about a
Mhm.
couple of years because we thought, what should we do with this money? Should we just give it to investment companies? And we
Mhm.
thought, no, I could do it. I just made 178,000. Why
Yeah.
don't I?
Right.
So I did that and I invested his money, 164,000. I turned that into $604,000
Oh my
in
gosh.
11 months.
Oh my
In
gosh.
11 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
and so I have like a proof of all the paper trails for this, because
Yeah.
I show it to my clients when they come to me. Because
Yeah.
obviously when I talk about it, they want to see it.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
yeah, so we have that. And so it was like exciting because
Yeah.
when I took my $25,000 when I was working, when I was learning, and I gave it to an
Mhm.
investment company, and they lost it.
Yeah.
They lost like 13,000. I
Oh
only
my
got
gosh.
$8,000 of it. And so I thought, we're not doing that. So I did it. So we have to be bold and we have to know, but we have to have a strategist. And like I said, I took some
Mhm.
classes and I had some, like a private coaching, and then because I was really serious because if I could do this with this fake money, like why not take it to
Right.
real money?
Uh-huh.
And so doing option trading, that's when I first made like the first $1 million. Like I know that I could have never done that,
Yeah.
because people that are around me, surround me, my kids, my family members. I don't have anybody that is rich. They're
Mhm.
comfortable, you
Yeah.
know, and but I never knew anybody that made a lot of money. But I thought to myself, it's like, you know what? There's a people out there making money as much as they want, and they're
Mhm.
not tied down to a company. So like, why
Mhm.
not me? And so
Yeah.
everything that I look at in life, like in studied in an orphanage, was like kids who are walking. Why can I walk?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, people are making money, not having to work for a company. Why can I?
Mhm.
And so we really have to like switch our mindset
Mhm.
about like, there's a people out there. It doesn't have to be your best friend that who's doing it. Or
Yeah.
sometimes, we see our best friends do it and they failed, right? And so
Mhm.
do we go by that? No. You know? So you really have to say, what do you want in life? Like, how do you want your life to be? And you have to really realize you have to take a big giant step. You
Mhm.
know, it's
Yeah.
like there's times where I was learned to riding bike when I was like 14 years old, or probably
Mhm.
like 15 when I first came to America. It was very scary, you
Yeah.
know, and I fell down, and then I didn't want to get back up again. Or sometimes when I
Mhm.
got in a car accident and I was so scared and shaky, and then I got hurt, ended up going to physical therapy and all those things. Do we stop driving a car because
Mhm.
something happened? Well, same
Mhm.
thing with the life. Like, we want to do something, we don't make it quite
Mhm.
as fast as we want, or maybe there's a lot of obstacles and challenges that come in our way. Do we quit? No,
Mhm.
because we would never be here. I know I would never be where I
Exactly.
am today, having an
Right.
interview with you as a guest,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, that's
I
guaranteed.
Yes. I just want to first of all just thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story on here, and there's just so much vulnerability in your life's journey. And I just really appreciate you sharing that because it gives that context of where you are. You could give the second half of that and say that you achieve the success financially, but without the backstory, it's hard to really grasp the
Yeah,
journey and how much meaning there is behind that. So I really appreciate you sharing your journey. And one thing that really stuck out to me is that when you talked about when you're making like $35,000 and you're like,
yeah,
if I stay, like, how do I have anything different? And this is a
yeah,
trap that so many of us can experience of like, we're in this comfort zone. This is what I've known. I've done this for 33 years. Like, I don't know what's on the other side. And so we can stay in this like fake sense of safety because it's familiar and not ever take that leap of faith of like going into the unknown. And
yeah,
so it can be that like teetering point. Do I like bet on what I know or do I bet on what could be? And so
yeah,
I so appreciate you sharing that, like taking that leap of faith, trusting yourself, and just saying, like, if I stay, I know what my future looks like. If I
yeah,
don't stay, I can create what my future
yeah,
looks like.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and plus, like being in there, it's like it's a, comfortable, and you're making everybody satisfied. My parents are happy because they
Mhm.
know that I love job. I
Yeah.
love my job. It's like, oh, she's
Right.
happy. Good for you.
Yes. Right.
Because you're doing like exactly what you love doing, and we can see and
Mhm.
you're good at it. But they don't know other side of the struggle. It's like, okay, mom, I'm having a hard time like struggling, paying paycheck to paycheck. You know
Mhm.
and we
Yeah.
don't tell all that ugly story to other people. They
Mhm.
just think that my life is just like really nice, and lot of my patients, like they don't know that what I've been through. I cannot tell
Yeah.
my patients about my past because they're there to get them feel better. And my
Mhm.
job is to make them feel better. And
Mhm.
doing it with the heart because I love doing what I'm doing, and I just love making them happy, making them feel,
Yeah.
happy and healthy mentally and all
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah.
so we don't get to talk about that. And so I thought, well, if I become an entrepreneur and doing my own things, and I don't, so there's a lot of scarcity that we could think about. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, I don't know any other skills, and I don't know anybody that I could lean on that made
Mhm.
money. you
Mhm.
know I don't know anybody. And then
Yeah.
plus, like, what is my kids and my parents going to say? I'm going to disappoint them. And my kids said, mom, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're doing, your patients love you, your doctor loves you, everybody said, what are you going to do? That
Yeah.
scarcity that people talk to us nearby,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I didn't dare to tell my mom. It's like, I just, after I retired, it's like, so yeah, people, not only we have our own doubts sometimes, but then we are in that moment like 10 seconds. For
Mhm.
me,
Yeah.
we can't be in it too long because it's going to take over. So we have to
Mhm.
say, okay, I know I want to retire, and I know I don't have any money, but there's some people
Mhm.
out there doing it, so I'm gonna find a way.
Yeah.
You know,
I love
and
that.
even though I didn't have anything like prepared, but I did prepare, study those days and went to real estate seminars and all that. So I have a little
Mhm.
bit of more knowledge and things, but
Yeah.
so we have to have an open mind. But a lot of times we live a life in somebody else's agenda. Like, oh
Mhm.
no, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Oh no,
Mhm.
I don't want them to say
Mhm.
like I'm crazy, or like, oh, you're making a mistake.
Mhm.
Like, you don't know what you're doing. Like, you have never done this before. Why are you doing
Yeah.
that? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So all those voices come to us, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
so you want to avoid this, so just stay there.
Yes.
You just stay
Ab
where you're comfortable, and then at the same
Mhm.
time, like, you're miserable as heck, right? Because
Absolutely.
you can't go on vacations. I mean, like, I had a 2 weeks paid time off, but I
Mhm.
don't have any money to take my kids on vacations.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
instead, like, instead of spending time on a vacations, I would just clean. Or
Mhm.
our time for vacation was like going on a picnic.
Yeah.
That was also a thing.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to taste the real life has to offer. I want to be able to
Right.
travel and taste their cultures and food and
Mhm.
just things like that. And so it's really important to like stay healthy overall basis, like mental health and physical health and financial health and
Mhm.
spiritual health, because
Absolutely.
they all go together, right?
Mhm.
And so I tell people, like, I used to tell my patients, like, do you exercise? When they used to complain to me, it's like, oh, Sun Yong, I cannot move my arm. I cannot comb my hair or put my shirt over. And I said, why not? Because it hurts. And I said,
Mhm.
well, did you get in an accident or did you fall? No. I just
Yeah.
woke up this morning and I'm just really stiff and I'm just sore and I can't put my. And I said, okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sore. Well,
Mhm.
maybe the muscle is telling you that you need to stretch the muscle, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it's safe for you to go ahead and comb your
Mhm.
hair. Even though it
Right.
hurts, go ahead and do it again. Like,
Mhm.
you're a physical therapist, you were,
Mhm.
right? And you
Yeah.
know exactly, like, when I got in a car accident, I couldn't even move my arm, like
Mhm.
raise my arm. And after I saw my doctor, said, well, go to physical therapy. And then I went to
Mhm.
physical therapy, and then they says, I know it hurts, you can't move, but we got to go through this, workouts. You got to do
Mhm.
this every day, or 2 or 3 times a week, and come back and see us, every so often. And I thought, but it hurts. But
Mhm.
they said, well, you have to do it. Well, now I went through that process, and now I can raise my arm, and
Mhm.
I have my full mobility back. And
Mhm.
so we have to live our life in that way,
Mhm.
mentally. Like, oh, I don't want
100%.
to, I don't want to think about that. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we have to push through, right? We have to see the other
100%.
side.
Exactly. The power of the mind, it can never
Yeah.
be understated. I mean, it is so powerful in everything we do. And just
Mhm.
with you sharing your story, I mean, there are so many things that you could have used as excuses for why you could not have accomplished what you have accomplished, but
Yeah.
instead you use them as fuel. And I want to go into that deeper because I think that's such a huge point because so many of us can come up with excuses like, oh, I've been through this, I've had this journey, this is why
Yeah.
I can't do any better for myself. But yet what you've said multiple times is like, what if this does work out? What if I
Yeah.
can do this?
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you how I can walk. And
Yeah.
though that mental strength that you've had and that
Yeah.
tenacity, I would love for you to go into that. Is that something you've always had? Is that something you've cultivated? Where did that come from? And how did you create that in your life?
I think because I suffer so much, there's
Hmm.
been I isolated myself,
Hmm.
because what happened, with my dad, what,
Yeah.
he did to us, and I isolated myself, and I thought, okay, I don't trust anybody, and
Hmm.
I don't care to talk to anybody the rest of my life,
Yeah.
you know. And then as my life goes on,
Hmm.
what you do, what you don't do, right? What you
Hmm.
do, what you don't do. Life just goes on
Yeah.
with you or without you, right? And so I was, my life was going on with the misery. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't talking to anybody. In fact, let me tell you, like quickly,
Yeah.
another thing was like when I was witnessing other kids that all the handicapped kids, like I said, 100% kids were handicapped in that second orphanage.
Hmm.
80% of the kids had a family, 20% was no family, like orphans. So we were all handicapped. And I saw some of the kids that was chewing gum with the families. They would come back from the weekends or their families would bring them candies or chew gum. And one day I said, I want to chew gum.
Hmm.
And I could have asked somebody else, but I was embarrassed. How many times were you embarrassed to ask somebody for help? Like,
Hmm.
I could have gone to my friends, somebody that I know and said, hey, I want to chew a gum. It looks cool. Like, I want to be able to taste the gum, what the gum tastes like, right? I could have
Yeah.
asked. I'm sure they would have given it to me, but I was too embarrassed. And then besides, like, they would know for sure, like, oh, yeah, you're an orphan, so you don't have any money. So, yeah, I'll give it to you. Or they may say, nope, you're an orphan, you don't have any, you don't get it. There's all kinds of scenarios that we could think about. But my main goal was to just, I just want to chew a gum. That's it.
Yeah.
And so, I was like 10 or 12 at the time, and I was walking because I learned to walk at 6 or 7. So my
Hmm.
friend and I, we went outside the orphanage and we found the gum. And I'm going to go back to the question that you asked me, but this is very
Yeah.
important, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is another one of those things like, you know, how did I do that? So I went
Mhm.
outside. Instead of asking, I was too embarrassed to ask for help or give me a piece of gum or whatever, borrow money to buy gum or anything. But I just went outside and I found the gum on the street. So many people have been walking, and I
Mhm.
had to dig out the gum from the, pavement, the walkway,
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I remember digging out the rocks because
Mm.
it's been walked on so many times, and I have to dig it out. And I pulled out the rocks. I know it sounds gross, okay?
Mhm.
But anyway, but I remember doing this. But I just said, I want to chew gum. That's all I did. I
Yeah.
want to chew gum. And I went for it, right? So I
Uh-huh.
dug out the gum, the rocks, biggest pieces I could, and then blew it out. I didn't want to go back inside the house to wash with the water or nothing. I just kind of
Yeah.
brushed it off, all the sand or whatever. And I chewed it.
Uh-huh.
And I felt so good. I felt the coolest kid in town in that orphanage. My friend
Yeah.
and I were like, yeah, we did it. Like thumbs up and said, we did it. But when I was chewing that gum was kind of crunchy because there was a little bit of, still things that I could not take
Yeah.
out, dig out all the way. And then it was just a gum. I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, oh, I'm chewing gum just like them. I feel cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that happened in orphanage. Now, when I came to America, when I could buy gum, and I bought a gum, and they came in so many different colors and there's a different flavors and my family told me that you could buy bubble gums or whatever, so I bought a bubble gum, and then they showed me how to blow a bubble and everything, and so I tried that, and it's like, so first time when I chewed a gum, brand new gum,
Yeah.
it tastes so smooth. There was no any like crunchiness,
Yeah.
and then it had a flavors. It's like a
Yeah.
strawberry and watermelon flavors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I
Whole new
can't believe it.
experience.
So experience.
Yeah.
And so going back to like, how did I get that? I
Yeah.
think that because when we dissociate with the things that in the world, because it was treated so cold,
Yeah.
that and living my life like that I want to change how I'm living.
Hmm.
And I cannot wait for someone to come to me. So, orphanage, they could have said, well, they show me how to walk, but they
Hmm.
they didn't do it every single day. But I said, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
And they just left me alone. because they
Mhm.
have to help other kids, but they didn't come to say, okay, you don't know how to walk, so I'm going to spend every single day with you until you walk.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, if I had that, my results were a lot faster.
Mhm.
But I had nothing to do
Yeah.
but that, not orphanage, nothing to.
Mhm.
But we tell ourselves like, okay, today's gonna pass, and tomorrow's gonna come.
Mhm.
How am I going to be different
Mhm.
tomorrow or even
Yeah.
end of today? Like I
Mhm.
woke up in this kind of mood. How am I going to go to bed? Am I going to go to bed with the same kind of mood I woke up if it was a bad mood?
Mhm.
Or am I going to continue to have a good mood and then go to bed in a good mood to kind of continue
Mhm.
with a good state of mind, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
I think that I never gave up on things. The people say, like, I didn't give myself like a limitation. I was like, oh, I can't do it.
Mhm.
I want to choke
Yeah.
up. I know I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna find
Yeah.
a way, right?
Mhm.
I don't know how to walk, but I'm gonna do it anyway. They show
Mhm.
me what to do. I'm gonna practice every day. And I
Mhm.
want to be able to get around like those kids,
Mhm.
and then I'll be able to help them.
Yeah.
I want to contribute. Once I learn to walk, I'm going to help them. And then I became a gopher for them. I would do all kinds of errands for them once I learned to walk.
Yeah. Love.
It was like my fun job. It's like, what
That's
do you
awesome.
need? Like, where do you want me to
Oh.
go? It's like I would do
Yeah.
everywhere. So when not only when we learn to do things for ourselves and things, we need to really think about next step. It's like, how can we
Yeah.
provide to other people within
Mhm.
our circle, within our
Yeah.
environment, right? Because
Mhm.
you can say, "Oh, I learned to walk and I'm great." But like every day when I walk, I feel so grateful. Like every day, like I take a bath, I feel so grateful because I didn't get a bath every day in orphanage.
Yeah.
We only got a
Mhm.
bath once a month. No, once a
Yeah.
year. Once a
Mhm.
year
Oh my gosh.
because we had to go to a public bath and not
Yeah.
everybody could walk. So we had to push them in the wheelchairs and there's not enough step to push everybody. So we walked
Yeah.
like a mile or two to get to the
Oh
public
my
bath.
gosh.
And so if we
Wow.
were lucky, we got two baths a year, if
Oh
we're
my
lucky.
gosh. Wow.
And so every single day, so you could see how my life is right now. I feel
Yeah.
very rich, not only
Huh?
financially, but I feel rich with all the things that I get to do. Like I
Yeah.
take a bath or shower every day. It's like I feel rich,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
and I get
Yeah.
to change to a different shoes, more than just one pair of shoes. I feel
Mhm.
rich.
Yeah.
So we have to really focus on like what we have because when we focus on what we have, we're so spoiled. We're spoiled
Mhm.
brat. We're
Yeah.
spoiled rotten. We
Yeah.
have so much. We have
Mhm.
more than
Oh,
enough,
yeah.
you know. So I
Absolutely.
think that having that mindset of like nobody's gonna tell me that I cannot do anything.
Yeah.
I have to tell myself I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna be able to
Mhm.
get the gum that I'm gonna chew. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's a flavored
Yes.
gum. I don't care. I just want to chew the gum. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
And so like even as a single mother, like my goal, I was struggling, but I thought I want to get a convertible. And
Yeah.
so before you have the money to buy a convertible, you have to go test drive and make sure that you like it.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
when you go test drive, like they have no idea that you have money to buy it now. They assume that I'm gonna buy it now. But my
Yeah.
back of my mind, I'm gonna buy that car, save money enough for like maybe 5 years. But I
Yeah.
test drove it much earlier before I had the
Yeah.
money. And so the things that we have to do that we want, we have to because what if like I didn't test drive it and I save for like next 5 or 10 years, and finally
Yeah.
I get to the money where I could have never done it at my job, right? But when
Yeah.
I have the money and then I finally test drive my dream car, convertible. What if I hate it?
Right. Yes.
And so it is really
Yeah.
important to really kind of like test what you really want to
Mhm.
do, steps
Yeah.
before
Yep.
you get there. And then you take the steps before you actually have the money
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know so those are a lot of lessons that I didn't think
Oh my gosh.
about that it's going to be a lesson for me, but now I
Yeah.
look back and as an entrepreneur and the
Yeah.
journey as an entrepreneur, it's like all this are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize back then. Why?
Yes.
Because we were not willing to learn lessons in that way. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? We just
Yes.
do what we have to do. And so I
Absolutely.
think the most important takeaway for your listeners is like, you know what? Nobody's going to come to you with a platter and say, here, you had a bad life. Here's your
Yeah.
opportunity. And some of us, we get an opportunity, like I said, going to the
Mhm.
seminar and they says, here's an opportunity. You can learn about the option trading. And then I heard what it takes, and I go, no thanks.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. And
Yep.
so we can't be choosy. You
Yeah.
mainly have to say, what is your main goal? Like, where do you want to be from now until even next
Yeah.
year? And you
Yeah.
don't compare yourself to other people because, like, there's
Hmm.
so many entrepreneurs like me. I'm
Hmm.
sure, I'm not the only one who's an orphan. There's so many millions of, orphans out there,
Hmm.
have succeeded, right? But our journey is different because we have learned different lessons
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
just like going to like say, I don't know, like going to the Walmart. I tell this to my clients, like, let's say there's a Walmart and there's so many different ways to get there. Depends on where you live.
Hmm.
So when we're trying to accomplish like being a life coach,
Hmm.
and there's like a zillion life coaches out there, but we're all different and we
Hmm.
come in different directions because we
Hmm.
we are different, our personality is different, and
Hmm.
our thinking is different, right? There's only one you.
Yeah.
There's only one you. There's
Absolutely.
nobody like you. Even the identical twins are still different. They
Yeah.
still, they're similar, but not exact the way
Yeah.
how they think, right? And so there's only one you. So we need to really value how valuable we are. And when we
Hmm.
think about it, like, what do we need? Like, we need a confidence, we need
Hmm.
to get rid of fears. Well, when we rely on our creator, which is God for me, and it may be different for other people, but
Hmm.
when we think about like, oh my gosh, I was created
Hmm.
by image of my creator. Oh my gosh. And he could do
Hmm.
anything. I
Yeah.
could do it. We have a human power,
Hmm.
but when we rely on our creator, some of the
Hmm.
biggest challenges that we don't think that we could do, or the mistakes that we have made, we rely on him. We,
Yeah.
surrender and then, ask him. We could
Hmm.
accomplish anything.
Hmm. Oh
Anything.
my gosh, it's so true. So much
Anything.
gold in what you've just shared. I just want to dissect it a little bit more because, like, there's so many things that you have said that I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, like you are a living example of that. Like, if you're living right now, so many of us are like, oh, I'm trying to find my purpose. If you're living right now, you have a purpose. Your story is uniquely designed to serve someone who is
That's
just
right.
like you. And so that is one thing I'm hearing from you, and I love that. The
Yes.
other thing is that gratitude, the power of
Yeah.
gratitude. Like,
Yes.
if you have a breath right now, you have something to be grateful
That's
for. And
right.
when we're in the thick of so much turmoil in our lives, we can be like, what do I have to be grateful for? But it's like those smallest things. Like you start anchoring yourself into that, you create a whole new destiny for yourself.
Yeah.
And there was something else that you said that it just really, there's so many things. I mean, I could really go on forever. Like so many things I'm hearing from you that I absolutely love. But that power of recognizing what you want in life. So many of us get stuck in autopilot, like, oh, I have to do this job. I have to get this degree. This
No.
is just what I was supposed to do. And you
Yeah.
get in this autopilot, like Monday through Friday, here we go again.
Yeah.
The weekend's the
Yeah.
same. And then you never stop to ask yourself, what is it that I actually want? Because we get
Yeah.
so disconnected from ourselves, we don't even know what we want. And so it's like that moment of pause of like taking some understanding of where you are in your life and what do you want to look like and not thinking like you're just a victim of your circumstances.
Yeah.
It's truly the
Yeah.
meaning that you give things is that creates the power behind it all. So, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so much gold in everything you said. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate and anchoring into the stories. I love the stories that you shared because that's where it's like we get into that subconscious mind, the power of that. It's like when we hear these
Yes.
stories, it might be a different story for someone listening, but you can understand that of like, I wanted that. I wanted so bad. And you can think about something in your life like, I wanted
Yeah.
so bad. I'll do anything I can to get to it, even though you don't know what that path looks like when you're
Yeah.
starting.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
love
mean, I
that.
mean, when we have a gratitude towards life, like we have to speak it. So in other words, like, there's some of the things that I share with my clients is this, like, if you have like a talking about like a gratitude or nurturing yourself, like
Yeah.
you have to nurture yourself because nobody's going to nurture you. When you're a child, your parents nurtured you, right? And then when we grow up and then live, go out on our own, then we have to nurture, but we're just nurturing our career, we're nurturing our educations, we're nurturing, something, but we really don't nurture ourselves, the
Mm-mm.
being,
Yeah.
because when we learn to nurture ourselves, we could do anything. We could accomplish anything. We could
Mhm.
share so much. We could give so much. We could just,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's just go on and on like a domino effects, right? So one thing that I do practice this every single day is like I said, when I got up at 4 in the morning, when I was 14, I still get up at 4 in the morning. And
Mhm.
instead of learning English, I'm doing something else. And so
Mhm.
it's like everything that you do that take a small steps, it becomes a habit. And then it
Mhm.
becomes your daily habit. And you don't do it for anybody else, you do it for you, right?
Mhm.
You don't expect the big results. Just like like, I know some churches, like, like sometimes like we give, I used to think this, like I give 10%, I know I'm going to get a bless.
Mhm.
Now I give, like I said, no, I don't need it. I give it because I want to, not
Mhm.
because, I'm going to get blessed, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, when we talk about like, living daily life. So let's say like, my husband and I, we have a normal, marriage problems. Like,
Mhm.
some days like we have a, disagreements, whatever. And
Mhm.
like we make feel bad at each other. And so we practice. I said, Mike, his name is, I said, honey, if we get an argument, if I make you feel really bad, you feel like you don't feel like you're a good husband, or you feel
Mhm.
like you failed as a husband or whatever, then you need to, look in the mirror. And as you're washing your hands in the bathrooms at the public places or workplaces or wherever, kitchen sink, whatever, and then when you have a like a mirror, obviously, you look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm a good husband. What Sun Young told me, what my wife just told me, she doesn't mean it because she just said it because she was just upset. But I'm a good husband and I'm a good lover and I'm a good dad, so we need to nurture those things out loud. And so I tell my husband, like, we need to have more arguments so we have excuse to say those things, nurture ourselves more. So like you could do that at work too, like, your boss or supervisor say made
Yeah.
you feel like you're gonna get fired, or you didn't do it enough, or you didn't do your expectations. You go to the
Mhm.
bathroom during lunch hour, take a break, and just say, you know what, I'm a good employee.
Mhm.
They need me. I do a good job for them. It's like I'm a
Mhm.
very valuable. Don't, have that last word by somebody else's negative words. Don't live with that. And then you go home and you just feel like, oh, I had a bad day. And then that really, turns into a family thing where,
Yeah.
everybody's affected because of your mood, because
Mhm.
of what someone said, at school or your work, or you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you always
Mhm.
have to ground yourself and go to, just tell yourself and say, I'm a good person. I
Mhm.
am, I do my best. I mean, you do something on purpose, that, then, but in
Yeah.
general life, when you know that you try your hard, you did your best within a time limits or whatever, you can get your project done, with a timely manner, and then your boss or supervisor says, you know what, you should have this done,
Mhm.
but they don't know, they were not under pressure like they were. You just have
Mhm.
to nurture yourself all, and you have to tell yourself and smile and say, I'm a good person. It makes
Absolutely.
your day go by so good, and you're
Mhm.
step by step, you're just nurturing it and making yourself, and give up massive confidence that you
Mhm.
need
Oh
to
my
live
God.
your life with.
So true. It's like it's anchoring into your truth and
Yes.
the truth. Like
Yeah.
the anything that says anything like you're not enough or you're not good,
Yeah.
those are all just those false stories that we hold on to as
It
a
is.
like a theme of protection. Like our ego
Yeah.
holds on to that for to protect us, but it doesn't help us and it doesn't serve us. So yeah, 100%. Like just having those practices of like coming home to yourself and recognizing that other people's words are more of a
Yeah.
reflection of their inner world than your inner world.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And just
absolutely.
said they're not true, because
Yes.
if they were true, we would have been divorced by now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or if it was true, they would have really fired me, right?
Right.
And so they're
Yeah.
just saying that because of how they have their own issues. So we have to understand
Yeah.
it's not all about us; it's about them, right? But
Mhm.
they put it on to us to make them feel better.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that's their issue. And so what are we going to do to make ourselves feel? We have to nurture them. We have to nurture ourselves and say positive words, just say, you know what, I'm a good employee. It's like, I'm a good
Mhm.
mother, it's like,
Yeah.
I do best I can with the circumstances. And so you just
Mhm.
have to really tell yourself that physically. And then every day, like when you drive, just be grateful, like you have a heater in your car when it's
Mhm.
cold outside, and
Yeah.
be grateful that you have a heat, that you have an air conditioning when it's so cold outside. You have to be
Mhm.
grateful for every little thing. So like it sounds silly,
Mhm.
like every time I get a gas, it's like, thank you, Father. Thank you
Mhm.
that I have a money to be able
Yeah.
to fill up. Because there's been a times where I ran out of gas and I
Mhm.
drove the old cars and I broke down on the freeways all the time.
Mhm.
But if I didn't have those kind of journey in my life, I would have never like appreciate the new cars that I get to drive now.
Mhm. Yeah.
I never get to appreciate it. But because I've been broken down with my kids, and because,
Mhm.
my hood's been smoking, I
Yeah.
never had a new cars when I was a single mother. I mean, so we really have to just really be grateful for what we
Yeah.
have, and look around and just say, you know what, and say it. Don't just say, oh, I know I have it. Just say, I'm grateful. You have to really, it's
Mhm.
like a mental shift. It's like, I'm really grateful that
Yeah.
I get to take a bath, soak in a hot tub every day. Like I get to
Mhm.
grateful that I have a hot water to do dishes
Yeah.
with. I'm grateful.
Mhm.
And say thank you. You don't always call up on your higher power only when you have a bad days. You have to
Mhm.
call up on your higher power when you have a good days and say thank you.
Mhm.
you know?
Exactly.
Because
Yes, it's
I
always
used to live a
yeah.
life like, oh, I need help. Like, I'm having a bad day. Please help me. Please help me.
Hmm.
Now I'm saying, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for
Hmm.
allowing me to have this,
Yeah.
And then when I miss my, misplace my key and I can't find it, I gotta go somewhere. It's like, I know you're looking at the key. You know exactly where my key. I don't remember because I'm a human being. My
Yeah.
eyes are wide open, but I cannot see where I left them, and I can remember it. But I know you're looking at it, so help me guide me to where I left my key. Show me. It
Hmm.
works every time. I mean,
100%.
we
Yes.
have to think about those little things like this. It's so practical. It's so easy.
Yes, I'm so it's so right on.
Uh-huh.
It's that contrast. Like when you don't live like that, you don't
Uh-huh.
realize like how much you have to be grateful for until you start like really looking for that. And it's like I've had that experience like several years ago. It's like there was so much chaos in my life, and I was like, what do I have to be grateful for? And now I
Yeah.
look back, I'm like, my gosh, I had
Yeah.
so much to be grateful for. I couldn't see it. And it's like,
Yeah.
this morning walked my son to the bus stop, and I'm like walking up on the grass. I'm like, thank you, grass, for being so
Yeah.
soft on my feet today. Like,
Exactly.
thank you, sky. It's beautiful. Like these
Exactly.
little things that we take for granted, we don't realize like until we start seeing it. And we have to train
Yes.
ourselves to see it and then we get more of it in our life. So
Yeah.
so much power to that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I just tell myself, like, we have to taste the rainbow colors in the food, because
Yeah.
they tell you to eat vegetables and greens and all this colorful stuff. So
Yep.
why not live our life like a rainbow colors? We get to
Hmm.
experience rainbow colors, like bright, because I know that, like, when I first met my husband, and, because of his mother, was
Hmm.
like every time there's a rainy or snowy and dark and cloud, like she
Hmm.
gets depressed. So I
Hmm.
guess like my husband kind of picked that up, he was telling me. And so
Hmm.
he's like, oh no, it's raining. And I said, you know what? I said, how about we're looking? I said, you know what? Thank you for the rain. We need the
Yeah.
rain. Thank you for the
Yep.
snow. We need it because when we snow, it's gonna melt down slowly and we'll have water throughout the summer, right? And
Yeah.
then when it rains, it gets to water our flowers, our grass, and so it'll grow
Hmm.
good and our vegetables will grow good. So we have to look at everything as like,
Yeah.
because it doesn't rain every single day, 365 days, a year, okay?
Hmm.
And then when there's a sunshine, blue skies, like you were talking about, like we have to really, because like, there's times where in my life, like everything was cloudy, dark and scary. It's like I don't even want to, like I
Hmm.
don't want to talk to anybody. I don't care. It's like I just leave me
Hmm.
alone.
Yeah.
But when we have to engage ourselves into like living and experiencing, tasting the rainbow colors of bright and
Hmm.
enjoy the every season, because
Hmm.
the every season's not gonna last forever,
Hmm.
right? Every
Exactly.
season passes. It happens every year. It's a pattern. It comes
Hmm.
every year.
Yeah,
It's
just
like we know
waves.
what's gonna happen. It's gonna come. Like winter's gonna come. So when winter comes, we're like, oh my gosh, why is it winter? Well, hello. Like you were like 40, 50. Well, winter's been coming to you for 40, 50 years. What's different?
Exactly.
It's just
Exactly.
how we accept the
Yes.
seasons and that we recognize the patterns makes the biggest difference in our life.
100%. It's like suffering is really just resisting the flow of life. Like we have to
Yeah.
understand there's going to be highs and lows and we have to flow with it and just understanding
Yeah.
it's the cycle. So, yes,
Yeah.
so much truth, so much gold. Oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk to you all day.
I know.
There's
I
so
love
many
it.
levels and things we could go, avenues down, we could go, but I've so appreciated so much of what you shared. There's so many things that like, I feel like you could listen to this episode and pick out different things left and
Yes.
right. And I really appreciate everything you shared, your journey, your story. It's profound, inspirational, and I know it's going to touch a lot of people who listen to this. And for someone who wants to connect with you, where can they find you and any resources that they can
Well,
gain?
I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a personal page, Facebook, and then two different business, unique miracle system, the system
Mhm.
strategies that the created for
Uh-huh.
option trading. And then there's what is a unique medical system, and there's Lash Enterprises. That's a CEO of the company that I
Mhm.
found and create, and we have a
Yeah.
business doing that. But yeah, so just anywhere. And then YouTube, I have a YouTube channel on how to
Mhm.
make money with option trading. So like if you have like a $500 and you could increase that to $5,000 and within
Yeah.
30 days or less,
Mhm.
there's some education videos that I've done. So there's
Mhm.
just so many things that they could contact me. And
Yeah.
also like I have used so many excuses, and I have a book that I have written. It's called
Awesome.
Invest in Yourself
I love it.
and Throw Away Your Excuse, and to turn your life around. So I use all these
Love it.
excuses like not now, maybe
Yes,
later, maybe next year. Well, next
I love
year,
it.
turned out to be 30 years later for some people. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes like, oh, we'll
Exactly.
do it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow turned out to be 40 years later
Yeah.
and still haven't done it. So it's really
Right.
important to like, and I do a lot of shorts on Instagram that it's kind of like no more excuses, get out of rut, how to pull
Awesome.
yourself out of the rut. I do
Yeah.
those things. So look for those like minute reels that I do on Instagram and TikToks and things. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun, like
I
still
love it.
engaging with people. So thank you,
Yeah.
Kelly. I mean,
Oh,
this
absolutely.
podcast that you created is just makes a huge difference, because we really want to reach as many people as, because the
Mhm.
journeys that we've gone through, that those biggest lessons that we cannot learn from, with the school, college
Yeah.
degrees, right? But we learn from the journey. And,
Mhm.
all of us, listeners, they have a lot to offer too.
Yeah.
They need to
Mhm.
start offering other people, share their
Mhm.
stories. And what I say, it's not your story. Because sometimes I used to say, oh, I don't want to share my story. It's embarrassing. It's a bad and it's a dark and
Mhm.
it's a, it's a sad, but
Mhm.
no, it's a God's story. But we
Mhm.
have to be in it, just like
Mhm.
God wrote a script and we
Yeah.
have to be, we're living the life, right? So it's a God
Yeah.
story. It's not your story,
Yeah.
right? And so
Absolutely.
share it because,
Yes. That's it. You're right on. And it's like, if we suppress our gifts and we wait, 20, 30, 40 years, what are we not giving to someone else who could really use the unique gifts that we have within us? And so, you're not only losing out on yourself, but there's so many other people who you're here uniquely designed to help that you might not be able to if you're not receptive
yeah.
and open, just like you've shared, and
Yeah.
it's been wonderful. I'm going to put
Thank you.
all your links in the show notes. So if anyone's listening, definitely connect. And I am so incredibly grateful for everything you shared and that we've connected. And I really enjoyed this today.
I do too. Thank you, Kelly. And I really,
Yes.
really appreciate that opportunity. Like I said, who knows that you created this podcast space, like 5 years ago. And it's like,
Mhm.
wow, it's just
Yeah.
like, so keep going. You're doing a good job and you're just
Thank
really,
you.
really helping a lot of people. You're helping as guests too, it's like,
Mhm.
wow, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I really hope it becomes a connector of like connecting the
Yes.
right people with the right resources so we can all just raise each other
Yeah.
up. So
Together. Yeah. And
thank you
then
so
just
much.
make a difference in the world, right? So
Absolutely. That's what
thank
we're
you.
here for. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And thank you for everybody who tuned in today.